When you think about Borderlands 3 in comparison to Borderlands 2, what is the first thing that comes to mind? I know most of you probably thought about the horrible writing, the art style, or even the weapons. Me personally, it's the villains. You see, the villain in Borderlands 2, Handsome Jack, made the game much more enjoyable to play through because of the way he was written. Now, head over to Borderlands 3 and you'll see the complete opposite in Tyreen and Troy Calypso. But, what if I told you that Tyreen and Troy were never originally supposed to be in the game? Take a look.
By the way, I'm going to let you in on a little trade secret. When we first started writing the story for Borderlands 3, Handsome Jack was going to return as the villain. Even though we killed him in Borderlands 2, and he appeared again in the pre-sequel as kind of a doppelganger, a playable character, and then Tales from the Borderlands, a holographic Jack. In fact, Handsome Jack's been around a lot for the last 7 years, and for a while, right at the beginning of Borderlands 3, we thought that we'll never make a villain that good. How can we ever make another Handsome Jack? We just need to use him again and find a way for him to be alive again and come back and all that. And then there was this really great fan video. It was about 2 years ago, came out and said, 7 things we don't want to see in Borderlands 3. And I think number 3 was Handsome Jack. So we listened and we heard and we were all like, okay, maybe we should put Handsome Jack to rest. Let him. But when you do that, oh my goodness, you have this massive obligation to follow in the footsteps of one of my favorite video game villains ever.
Now, you may be saying, yeah, but they were just in the early stages of developing the story and scrapped the idea before starting development on the game. And that's fair. But during this clip, he says that the writing team had already started writing the game with Handsome Jack until about 2 years before launch in 2019, because they saw a fan video saying Handsome Jack shouldn't return. On top of all that, Gearbox released behind-the-scenes footage of early development on the game, and guess who shows up? Have a look. So now we know that Jack was originally written into the game as the villain, and he was in the game, at least in the early stages. But, because of the top 7 video, was removed as the fans seemed to want to move on from Jack, which, also fair. This leads me to my main point. I believe that Borderlands 3's story was rushed due to fans not wanting to see Jack return, and if Tyreen and Troy were written into the game from the jump, they could have been great. Here are my reasons why. There will be spoilers ahead, so if you haven't played the games and don't want to hear them, now's the time to click off. You gone? Alright. First, Tyreen and Troy were not the worst villains ever. They were just written really terribly. I feel like the whole, ooh, I'm a streamer gimmick was what made them so unlikable to begin with. I mean, take it from me. I'm a YouTuber, and I hate myself. If Gearbox would have ditched the streamer background and really delved into their upbringing more as a means of justifying their actions, I feel like it would have went a long way in making the twins more relatable, or even just making the player understand where they were coming from. Because in terms of reasoning for them doing what they did, all we really got was, my daddy kept me on one singular planet my whole life, boo-hoo, gimme attention. My second reason that the twins were actually close to great was the setup. You see, Tyreen and Troy are brother and sister. But their relationship is more transactional than anything, as Troy needs Tyreen to survive and leech power from, and in my opinion, it would have made much more sense for Troy to betray Tyreen and become the main villain, as he was always overshadowed by her since birth. The writers did start to lean into a Troy betrayal, but then reversed it after the Borderlands 4 bait. Like, in all honesty, Troy merging with the Destroyer would have been perfect, as he would no longer need Tyreen to survive, and this would have been the most Borderlands name ever. Like, come on, man. Last but not least, if Gearbox started out with Tyreen and Troy as the villains instead of Jack, they would have had much more time to craft a world and narrative that felt authentic and cohesive. But instead, the twins feel more like a last-minute decision which had ripple effects throughout the entire game, as we see writing so bad that most people play with dialogue muted, and that's being generous. Some just quit entirely. But what do you think? Could the twins have been saved if they had more time to write them? Or was Borderlands 3 doomed from the start? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, that's all I have for today. If you've enjoyed the video, leaving a like helps me out a ton and is much appreciated. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe, as I'd love to have you around. Other than that, I hope you have a good day. I love y'all. See you in the next one. Goodbye.